Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our live stream Mondays. Today, we will be chatting and we'll be having a conversation about how students can maximize their odds of acceptance by standing out to college admissions officers. Believe it or not, there's a few things that students can do during application season, years before they even begin those college applications, and little things that they can do, I guess, behind the scenes or as high school progresses to maximize those odds of getting accepted to college and to stand out to universities across the nation. So I hope that you find this presentation helpful. I hope that you learn a lot. And as always, I'm here with Francisco. Fran, how are you today?
Hello and welcome, everyone. Yes, I'm happy to be here like we are every week. And as you mentioned, very excited to break down a couple of tips, lots of advice on how your student can stand out in the college application process as we wait for more people to join. I do want to start off by going on a little breakdown as to how the college application gets evaluated once the student sends it off to colleges, the different components that will be taken into consideration, and then after that we can get started with the presentation. So first thing I want to do is explain what are the different components of a college application. So first, we got to talk about, the traditional ones, the well-known ones. There's GPA, SAT, ACT, all these are numbers, right? The GPA, whether it's weighted or unweighted, it's represented on different scales. It could be a 4.0 scale if it's unweighted GPA, and it can be higher, typically up to 5.5 weighted scale if the student takes AP classes. Different schools calculate it different ways, but at the end of the day, colleges will go ahead and they will recalculate in most cases their own GPA, right? So that is one of the components. Then there's SAT and ACT scores, also a number. Then you have things that are a little bit more abstract or maybe interpreted differently by colleges. So for example, the rigor of the course load taken, whether the student took APs or didn't take APs, that's taken into consideration. There's things like demonstrated interest, which we'll talk about in a little bit. There are components like extracurriculars, like essays, and there is also the component at certain schools of the interview, right? So all of these academic factors combined with non-academic factors, so personal qualities of the student, for example, are things that are considered, will go ahead and will come into play when people in the admissions office will vote or will decide on whether a student is accepted or not, right? So today we'll be breaking down some of these components, and we'll be giving you tips on how you can leverage each of these components in such a way that increases the competitiveness of your college application, right? So with that being said, Laura, do you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Yes, thank you so much for that overview. And yeah, as Francisco stated today, we're going to be discussing a lot of things that affect a student's odds of getting accepted. And the first thing that I do want to cover or talk about that can help your student, stand out to college admissions officers is something that happens way before the student is filling out those college applications, and something that students need to be, I guess, aware of, and parents as well, to help their students complete this part of the process before they even apply to schools, right? And before they even send out those applications. And this is the role that extracurriculars and volunteering plays on a college application, and how doing these strategically, practicing extracurriculars and being involved in volunteering, can help the student tell a story and market themselves to colleges, right? So what do I even mean by that? When college admissions officers look at a college application, they are looking to, with that essay, with those classes that the student took, the extracurriculars, the volunteering positions that they had, they're looking to create an image and create a story of who the student is. And they do so with so little information. But what students don't know is that everything that they do in high school can shape a narrative and can be, what ultimately gets them into a school or not. So it's important that students are doing extracurriculars, practicing extracurricular activities, after school activities that they're passionate about, and something that will eventually show schools who they are. So if it's a sport, students should be finding the sport that they like early on so that they can do it for a long time and get better at it. If it's something in the leadership realm, Francisco, you, for example, you were really into being a leader and being involved. He was the president of his high school class during all 4 years of high school. He was also part of SGA. He was also part of the National Honor Society. So needless to say, you were a student who was really, really involved and wanted to, help others and, be involved in his high school community. So that was something that in his application, college admissions officers were able to see just by the involvement that he had. And not only did he, by saying, okay, I did these activities in high school, when your student will be filling out those college applications, specifically with clubs and organizations that they were a part of, they will also list the years that they were active in that organization or in that club. So colleges and universities will be able to see, okay, this student was part of SGA all 4 years. And even in middle school, they were part of the student government, or they were part of the debate team since early middle school. They were part of the swim team since they were, in elementary school, if there was a swim team back then. So it's something that they've been doing, and now they want to come to our school and continue to do it. So it's important that students find something that they like and they continue to do it, because ultimately colleges, when they look at extracurriculars and when they look at volunteering, they want to see two things: leadership and duration. How long were they a part of that club? The student was a part of that club, organization, team, academic club, that artistic club, and what did they do inside that club to make a difference? And all of those are things that, again, college admissions officers will be able to see in that application. So it doesn't start students don't start wowing those college admissions officers when they complete that application. It starts as early as possible, being as involved as they can. So I just wanted to clarify that. So that was the first point. Extracurriculars and volunteering can really make a difference in shaping and telling a story and helping the student market themselves. Fran, do you want to go ahead and talk about the next point?
Right. So it's one thing to, again, be involved in these extracurriculars and display, as you mentioned, the two most important components, leadership and duration. However, it's a completely different art or a completely different task to go ahead and communicate these skills or these experiences in such a way that the admissions representatives are able to interpret them as, okay, this student displays the qualities that we are looking for, right? So how do you do this? As I mentioned earlier, there are the academic components that make up the college application, and usually they are quantified by numbers. However, usually the written components and the extracurricular section of the application are the main ways in which you are able to attach a story to an application. You stop being a number and you become, this captain of the swim team. You become this, person with intellectual vitality based on what you did on this extracurricular or what you did outside of school. So it's one thing, again, to do the activities, and it's a completely different thing to verbalize what those activities or the logic behind being involved in those activities and the impact that those activities had within yourself and within your community, right? So my recommendation here is, number one, whether you are a student yourself or you are the parent of a student, it is in your best interest as early as possible. And if you have not done this already and you're in 11th or 12th grade, you can retroactively fill this out, but have a notebook, a Google Sheets, a document, anywhere where you can write down every single experience or every single moment or activity that outside of the classroom meant something to your development. It could be a traditional club. It could be a sport. It could be something like a job. It could be something non-traditional, like maybe you had a younger sibling that you had to take care of, or you had to contribute to, helping the family pay for, expenses and help your parents out. Anything and everything that you did outside of the classroom that is some sort of representation of who you are as a person, and it represents you in a favorable light, it is worth keeping around, because these are going to be the materials, and this is going to be the substance from which you derive a lot of your essays. And even if you do not write about these experiences, when you fill out the extracurricular section, you're going to want to have as much material to pull from, depending on the type of, personal qualities that you want to put forward. And also different schools will look for different qualities within a student and will care about different components of the application. So if you have a lot of experiences that you can, derive from, as Laura said, once you displayed leadership and duration, you next need to communicate it properly. And you do this by listing out the impact. So the whole point of this is you want to use as much quantifiables as possible. What do I mean by this? Numbers, percentages, commas, things that you can go ahead and quickly convey, oh, okay, my involvement in this club was not just being a member for 3 years, but it represented raising $2,000. It represented growing the club, 200% from when I joined to when I left as a recruitment head. Whatever it is that you contributed to an organization, if you can quantify it, if you can quantify your impact and you can attach numbers to back up what you said, it is the easiest and fastest way to convey that you did something of value and that you changed the status quo, for example. And again, with these applications, you're going to have a very limited amount of time to go ahead and show yourself. You're going to have a very short time, and you want to be as quick and as efficient as possible with the way in which you communicate your involvement and which you show your value. And numbers is a very easy way to show your value, because you don't have to explain too much about what you did. Everyone's going to know what raising $2,000, $10,000, whatever the case might be, means. Everyone will know what increasing, recruitment by X whatever percentage will be. So it's a way to speak a universal language. And then again, you use this as you write your essays. You use this when you do the brief descriptions of your extracurricular portion, and you should be good to go with the written components, and you should give a pretty good idea to the admission representatives of who you are, right? So I wanted to go ahead and make sure that you knew this so that you can capitalize on all of the great activities that you are going to be involved or have been involved in over the last few years and before you apply to college.
Yeah, super important. And yeah, keep track of those things because, as you say, Francisco, in those essays and those supplemental essays, because it's not just the main essay, there are supplemental essays. There's colleges that have a section where sometimes you have to answer questions and it can only be like 100 words answer, but you still should be filling those out. And all those things, all those experiences can come in handy when filling out that application, or even when having college interviews, because college interviews, while not all universities will ask students to complete an interview, there's going to be things that might come up and might be worth bringing up. So yeah, definitely keep tabs on that and use them to your advantage, and use every single opportunity. I just want to clarify this and really bring this home. Every single opportunity that the student has to write, tell in person in an interview, to do as a written statement, or to add in a section of the application where they talk about something that they did in high school that could show them in a positive light, take that opportunity and use it to market yourself, because trust me, you want to have every opportunity and take advantage of it so that you can really show college admissions officers what type of student you are. All right. So finally, another thing that I do want to talk about before we get to some of the free resources that we have for you outside of these live streams, that is very important. And it's another thing that starts and should start since high school begins, and a strategy that students should use when applying to college is students should be strategic when choosing college. I mean, when choosing the classes that they take in high school, because believe it or not, the type of classes that the student took, the type of schedule that they had freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school can really help tell a story and show college admissions officers what type of student you were. So what does that mean? Every high school is different. Every high school is going to offer different types of classes, whether it's regular honors college high school level classes or different types of college level courses such as APs, dual enrollment, ACE, IB program, early college, etc. Every school is different, but it's important that students are being strategic about the type of classes that they take. For example, if there's a student who has always known, because we do have students like that in Best College Aid who, since the moment that they join our membership, tell us, I know that I want to be a doctor one day. And right now they're seniors, but they started with us since they were freshmen. And every single class that they took in high school was strategically chosen to help them not only obviously have a great GPA and have a great application, but also demonstrate college admissions officers that they know what they want to do and they're working towards getting that degree and everything that they need to one day become doctors. And this does kind of go hand in hand with what I was talking about earlier about the volunteering and the extracurricular activities, especially for students who really know what they want or have an idea of what they would like to do. Students who are maybe interested in being graphic designers one day, taking an AP 2D, AP 3D art class might be interesting and might be worth it for them. Students who might want to be journalists might want to look into taking AP Lit, AP Lang, or IB courses in writing, or if they have that dual enrollment, those dual enrollment classes available in their school, if their local community college does some sort of college level writing class. Because trust me, all of these things, while they look, overwhelming, or it looks like it might not matter, being strategic and showing what type of student you are through the classes that you take can definitely affect the way that college admissions officers look at you and can really show that you are a student who stands for what they like, what they believe, and they use every resource to their advantage to get to where they want to be, right? So really wanted to share that with you. It's really important to know or have an idea of what you want, because that can also help you plan better, right?
Right. At the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to have a cohesive application that makes sense to the reader. So if your application is not only an essay that corroborates that you are, someone with intellectual vitality, or a curious person, or someone who is a problem solver because you want to be an engineer, well, you also want to supplement that with actions, by talking not just about in your essay, the summer camp that you attended, but also, having a laundry list of classes that you took, AP Calc, AP Stats, anything that is related to the course of study that you want to pursue. If that were to be engineering, if you want to go into science, medicine, whatever the case might be, you don't want to just say things. You want to show them with your track record, right? So with that being said, the last component or the last aspect of the application that I want to cover before we list out those free resources that we have for you is, number one, social media and using it for good, right? So number one is, if you're a student or if you have students who are interested in a particular school, go ahead and give them a follow. Not saying that this is going to boost your odds of acceptance or anything like that, but if they do have an admissions or some sort of class account for your upcoming class, and you go ahead and give it a follow, you might learn about specific, college fairs that representatives are attending. You might learn, or you might sign up for tours. You might, be able to pinpoint the places and identify locations, events where you can demonstrate your interest, which some schools go ahead and take that into consideration, particularly state schools will go ahead and look at demonstrated interest. Some schools might not really care about that. Other schools might. And if you follow them on social media, you'll go ahead and learn about these events. You can also go to their website. You could also go and do a visit. You can also register for, college fairs in which admissions officers will be attending, and you can establish a connection, talk to them, represent yourself, especially if they're regional admissions officers who will be the ones reading your students or your application if you're the student yourself, right? And another thing, just closing off the topic of social media, go ahead and make sure that the student's social media is clean and that you don't have anything that might come back and look bad on the university, or that an admissions officer, if they were to see it, might affect their decision on whether you represent the values of the university, right? So those are the main components of the application that we wanted to share with you today. However, we do have a couple of free resources. Number one, if you join in late and you didn't get to, because again, we talked about extracurriculars, we talked about the essays, we talked about the classes you should be taking, we talked about demonstrated interest very, very briefly. But if you missed any of these points and you want to go back and watch them, the recording will be posted on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram after we are done being live. And number two, again, this was a very quick microscopic look into the different components of a college application, but you might be interested in other areas. You might be interested in the financing, in the scholarships. You might be interested in the essay writing. So to do a more comprehensive, 1,000 bird's eye view of the entire process, we do have a training that we finished scripting and recording last week. So it is brand new, updated for the 2024-2025 school cycle. It's completely free. So if you go ahead and click on wherever the profile is, if you're watching on Instagram and TikTok, you go to our profile, you go to the link, you can sign up for free. It's a free training on the 6 steps to go to college with scholarship. It is, again, free. All you need to do is put your email so we can send it to you. Go ahead and sign up for that, and you will watch the training. If you're interested in receiving more of a personalized experience or more in-depth support and mentorship like your students do through Best College Aid, you just stay to the last 10 minutes of that training. Again, just like we have been, going on for the last 20-something minutes about the different components of a college application, we give a ton of free value in that presentation, top to bottom. And then the last 10 minutes, we talk about our program and the cost, and we offer a 50% discount if you are interested in joining Best College Aid, all right? So that is it for today's conversation, for today's presentation. Hopefully you gather at least some nuggets of information that will go ahead and help you out. And I hope this was of value to you all. Go ahead and check out that free training if you don't follow us yet. That would help us grow our community and reach more accounts and people like you who might find value in this sort of content.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us and for watching today's conversation. Hopefully, again, you found a lot of value. Don't forget to check out those free resources. And to answer your question, BYYNP, is there such thing as too many AP classes? It really does depend on the student. It depends on the school. Some schools do have kind of rules of how many AP students can take. There's, schools that don't, but you also want to be responsible and not put too much on your plate, right? You want to take the amount of APs and the amount of honors classes that your student's going to be able to handle, and also be strategic so that they have time to do homework, things like that. But great question. Thank you for joining. Thanks, everyone. For watching, and thank you, Janine. Great video, learned some great tips. Thank you so much for watching all the way through and for joining us. And don't forget to check out those free resources in the link in our bio. And again, we'll see you again, maybe inside that free training or next week or inside Best College Aid. Have a wonderful night.
Take care, y'all.